Hello, I'm Christian from the Welsh Sports channel and DragonSports, and today I'm looking back at Judgement Day, and this was a massive one. Number one for the playoffs in the URC, and number two for players who wanted to put their hands up to get on that tour to Japan. Also, is Judgement Day still relevant? Let's have a talk about it. So the first game was of course the Ospreys versus Cardiff. This was the biggest of the two games in my opinion because both of these teams could have got to the playoffs. This was a game though of being clinical and not being clinical. Cardiff, once they got into the 22, they were excellent. First 4 entries into the Ospreys 22, come away with 4 tries, and the bonus point was sewn up in the first half. The battle between the two outside halves, I think Callum Sheedy edged out Dan Edwards, although Sheedy's kicking was still awful at goal. But his kicking out of hand was way better, and just his creation of space for other players, knowing when to put the pass in. For the Ospreys, you have to say this was similar to the Lyon game where they just couldn't break Cardiff down for long periods of time. Although they pushed them close at the end when the bench came on and really made a difference, Cardiff just had enough to edge out, but it was super close going down to the last couple of minutes. The fitness level of both teams looked bad. The Ospreys really looked out on their feet in the first half. Cardiff in that final third of the game looked literally dead on their feet. And I guess it is a conversation on the squad sizes and how much these players have to get through in a season. Couple of players of note for the Ospreys, Ruben Morgan-Williams and Kieran Williams were both excellent. On the Cardiff side, Gabe Hamer-Webb, unfortunately not eligible for Wales, being English, but he had a hat-trick. He was excellent on the day. 3 really good finishes, still had a lot to do with all of them. And Alex Mann, though he picked up a yellow card for a bit of a late hit on Morgan-Williams without using his arms, he was excellent on the day. Caused absolute havoc at the breakdown and was into everything, got a try, and he really put his hand up and definitely has got to be in that conversation for the Japan tour. The second game between the Dragons and the Scarlets was probably the most exciting one. Dragons really pushed the Scarlets right to the edge. Their returning players made a big difference. Ashton Hewitt coming back, Angus O'Brien came back, who in my opinion was sneaky the best outside half out of the 4 in the 2 games, and Ben Carter also back for them. They all made an impact, but unfortunately you always kind of felt like the Scarlets were going to get enough and turn it on when they needed to. Their big players stepped up. Fafita, McLeod and Murray, when the chips were down, they really showed that they have the quality and put their hands up. Scarlets got their bonus point to keep them in the hunt for the playoffs, but this one was a lot closer than probably most people were expecting, and the Dragons did put on a really good performance. A lot of young players, though Scott Williams, the old head, came in, and to be honest, I thought he was excellent. Unfortunately, he was forced off with an injury. Hopefully that's not too bad for him, but he really showed that seniority and that calm is what maybe the Dragons have been lacking in that back line. Players that did step up, Josh McLeod put his hand up, considering that Jack Morgan is going to be almost certainly away with the Lions this summer. This opens up a potential spot to be in the 7 jersey for Wales. Between him and Tane Basham, it was a good head-to-head, but McLeod was just excellent. Again, he's had a really good season, and probably his body would benefit from a rest, but if I was the coach, I would certainly take him to Japan. In the race for the playoffs, Cardiff got to 6th, and their destiny is now in their hands. They play Munster next, who are just 1 point behind them. That's a crucial game, considering they have to do an away trip to South Africa. The Scarlets, they're in 9th. They can still qualify for the playoffs, but a difficult home game against Leinster now, and again an away trip to South Africa. So is Judgement Day working for Welsh Rugby? I've been to a few, but I've never been a massive fan. It's hard for the atmosphere to really get going in that big stadium when you've got so many fans splintered around. The first year the attendances was 36, then eventually it creeped up in its peak in Judgement Day 4 with about 68,000, which is really good. But there's been a gradual creep down, getting less and less most years. Yesterday's figures were around the 28,000 mark. So if they're still making more money than what they would be making if they were holding the games at home, these teams, then I would say continue to do what you're doing. But if it's not really making the money that we need it to, then maybe they need to look at it, maybe put it at the beginning of the season when all 4 teams have something to play for, because I'm not sure if it's working. Let me know what you think, and I'll catch you on the next one.